The chemo and the radiation did absolutely nothing.
Today we're here with Jane Durst Pulkys. She is an ostomate and a healthcare coach, and I think you're going to enjoy her story. Hey, Jane, thanks for being here.
Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it.
If you wouldn't mind, tell us a little bit about your experience with how you ended up with an ostomy.
I never had a colonoscopy, and I live in Canada, so they send you out a test called a FIT test. I never had that. I'm a nutritionist. I've been working out since I was like as long as I can remember. I'm a weight loss coach, like I do all the right things. I thought maybe I was having too much fiber in my diet, so I was starting to have some bleeding or a little bit of blood. But I really thought it was like nuts and seeds. And then I took a trip to Bali and I noticed that it got worse. I came home and did my first colonoscopy, and he told me that I had colon cancer. Of course, I was completely shocked. I've never had problems with my bowels. Actually, the only sign I had was the blood in the stools. He told me that what he wanted to do was to do 30 rounds of radiation, followed with 9 rounds of chemo. That should eradicate it, which I very reluctantly did, but now I'm very grateful that I did because I know this is one of those diseases that kills people. My cancer was right at the rectum. So I managed to get through the radiation, the chemo, but I also decided to take an incredibly positive attitude about it. It never got me down. I was finishing I just wrote a second book. I was doing my PhD. So I didn't tell my clients I had this. I just would get up and go. And when I couldn't work, I lied down in between people and life went on, did my hot yoga, swam whenever I could. And really, honestly, it was one of the best things to do was just to choose to be positive about it. Once I completed all the therapy, I was pretty beat up, I have to say. And then I went for the second colonoscopy, and he said, the chemo and the radiation did absolutely nothing for for the cancer. So he goes, the next step is surgery. And he told me that in the surgery, he was going to have to remove the lymph nodes. He was going to try to save the colon and potentially just do a temporary stoma. But when I woke up with the stoma on my left side, which meant that it was a permanent, and took a look at that day and thought, you know what? We have to become friends with this. And it took me about 2 months to kind of fumble around my own self and figure out what I could eat, what I couldn't eat, which is still an ongoing process for me. It's almost like the body keeps on changing. I really struggled with initially and on the management of it because I couldn't find the support. I couldn't find people to talk to initially that were going through the same thing as me. So I thought, you know what? I'm just going to create a platform called the Colostomy Queen. And we've been now doing that for coming up to a year. I've learned to live with this, and it's not such a bad thing. I mean, it is quite manageable, but I think the real big reason I wanted to create that platform was I spoke to a lot of people who basically wanted to stay home. They didn't want to wear white pants. They were afraid of having an accident. God, I can tell you a million accidents I've had. And to rebuild that confidence, even having, being sexually intimate, like what does that look like for people? Because no one wants to talk about that stuff. So that's what we're doing.
You have a PhD in nutrition. So what kind of advice or tips would you give to someone who's new to having an ostomy?
Hydration is absolutely critical. Because what I find, if I'm not hydrated, I can't eliminate properly. So that would be number one.
Okay.
Number two, the easiest things to go towards would be processed foods like Cheerios and white bread and white rice and cookies and cakes because they don't have any fiber in it, but they lack so much nutrition. So to find something like bananas, avocados, butternut squash, sweet potatoes, eggs, the proteins are not an issue for me. Soups and stews, and to stay away from me personally, it's the skins that are the biggest problem for me. And I just discovered on the weekend that olives, they don't work. They plug the end of the stoma, and then it creates a huge problem. So I would say to really try to get your nutrition from whole foods before you go to other things. And I know it's tempting to go to things that are not high in fiber, but from an energetic perspective, you're going to get more energy from more natural foods, is what I would say. Plus, the water is critical.
Do you take an electrolyte supplement of any sort?
Every day I take one. I
Yeah,
take
okay.
actually two, one from Canada and one from the US called Cardio Miracle, and I love it.
Okay. What
Yeah.
about skin irritation? Do you have any issues with skin irritation?
No, I found that the Cavalon spray and the Stoma adhesive from Convatec has basically solved the problem.
When was your surgery for the colostomy?
So I was diagnosed in April of 2023. I had my surgery and then radiation chemo in 23 and had my operation March 1, 2024. So I've just had it for 2 years now.
What were some of the biggest challenges you had with adapting to a colostomy in your personal life for someone that's so involved in activity?
The only challenge, I didn't think I could wear like normal fitting clothes. That was a bit of a challenge. And then I discovered you can wear that as long as they have a little bit of stretch to it. I think the biggest challenge was the food thing. And I'm a foodie. And I wrote a cookbook. So when I was doing all this, so I'm a foodie. The food was an issue. Yeah, that really was my biggest challenge was the food. The psychological part, not a problem. The acceptance, not a problem. Nerve-wracking, still going now for CAT scans. I'm now at a 6-month interval versus a 3-month interval. That makes me a bit nervous. But other than that, no, not really.
You get your surgery done. How was the sexual intimacy as you returned to that?
Well, I found the radiation caused some scar tissue. So, which required me to get extenders because the radiation really did a number on me.
Wow.
Yeah. And also my husband was afraid to hurt me. You know what I mean? But now it's totally fine. It took a little bit of time, but it's totally fine.
What advice would you give to, let's say, a young woman that is dealing with something like this in terms of her sexual intimacy and her sexual identity?
I think first and foremost is to really work on your self-love and self-respect. Because if you feel good, then everything's a lot easier. So if you feel ugly or non-attractive sexually, that's going to be a problem. So you need to do some work around that. Because these things don't define us. This is not who you are. Okay, you have a stoma, big deal. I mean, it is a big deal. I'm not trying to minimize it. But you're still the same person. And life is meant to be lived. It's not meant to be like hiding. And I understand how people hide and are afraid, but just take the step to embrace it. And in the very beginning, it's like, I have two choices. I can be positive or I can be negative. And I know that negative thing does not work for me. So I'm going to stay in the positive lane. And that has changed everything for me. But that's an attitude too, right? I mean, I was kind of born that way anyways, but this was a test for me in how was it going to affect me. It did in the very, very beginning, but over time I realized I'm still the same person. I still love myself. I still have respect for myself. This shouldn't define me. So I think really a lot of self-care for a person. would help this for sure.
What kind of advice would you have for someone that was just diagnosed with colon cancer yesterday that's watching this video today? What would you tell them?
I would tell them to talk to their friends. Like, I have a lot of very, very good friends all over the world, and that was the first thing I did, was call them. I would suggest they do some journaling, because it's a very upsetting time. It's a very stress time. So to journal, to take some time, maybe talk to, if you have a therapist, go see a therapist. But just take it one step at a time. And I have since discovered, though, that even the Canadian Colorectal Cancer Society, they have a lot of information on their site. I didn't know that. A lot of helpful things that they can do, and also even to arm yourself with the questions. So when we went the next day for we did the colonoscopy, but I had to go see the doctor the next day. We created a list of questions that were really important to me. So I would start to put some questions together and try to find some answers to that. I ended up partaking in watching hilarious videos. That for me was and I still do it today, because I needed to take my attention away from this and completely laugh about it. So to have something that was going to lighten it. So to find something to lighten the load, because it's heavy. It's very heavy.
What kind of advice would you have for someone who just got an ostomy?
Make an appointment with an ostomy nurse who can show you the different appliances, because the suppliers are supplying the hospital, but those apparatuses did not work for me. So I just fumbled with them, and I really didn't know how to order. I didn't know there are places where you can physically walk in and somebody can help you.
Okay.
And that for me was a game changer.
What else?
To be very patient. You're not gonna know how to put it on properly. It's gonna come off a little bit more easily in the beginning, but just know that this will get better. And it's gonna be, because before I had this, I woke up, went to the bathroom, and you're done. This has a mind of its own. So it can happen at any time, and know that that is true. And to make sure you have always supplies with you, so that you're not caught in a situation where you are totally embarrassed.
How has all of this changed you?
Honestly, it's made me a better person. I had a lot of empathy before, but I have way more empathy. I work with people who struggle with health, and I understand it differently now. I understand their struggles more. I am definitely more compassionate towards others that way. And it's also really opened my eyes to, even where I live in the city, where you walk down the street and people look like they're all okay, everybody has a story. And if we can be kinder to people, if we can, just lend a hand, if we can be available, then, that's what it's done for me. I mean, I stop more to help more people than I did before. Now, I did it before, but I see it more.
That's awesome. Yeah, I hear you. Yeah, we're paying it forward now. We got our second
Yeah.
chance. Jane, thanks for being here today. We really appreciate you sharing all that with us, and we look forward to seeing you.
Thank you so much for having me.